SharePoint is broken, or issues arising in high turnover development teams, so I've wanted to write this story out for a while. As a disclaimer, I'm not really a technical person. I had the fortune/misfortune of being the youngest person in the office and inherited a lot of technical type things from a man with many more skills than me. The company I worked for was a big IT company, but of the type that nobody has ever heard of, multi-million in profit, billions in revenue, purely B2B. I worked in an offshoot of the sales teams, in the bid team. We wrote tender responses, worked with wonderful technical people, and others who had titles like solution architect but couldn't use a printer. Because most of our work was collaborative, it was decided to invest in a custom-built instance of SharePoint that would best suit our needs. As luck would have it, we had a team in the professional services department who specialized in SharePoint, and they built a beautiful-looking instance for us. We could click a few buttons, and SharePoint sites would automatically build, according to a set template, and people from across the business could easily collaborate with us. Time went on, and the SharePoint team slowly left, and were replaced, as happens in large workplaces where people feel unappreciated. A new manager for the team came in, and wondered why they were supporting tickets for our problems when their role was deemed to be consultative. It was decided that support would be handed over to our Eastern European service desk. Problem number 1 appeared when we called SD for a small problem. Nobody had told them that they were now supporting this. Easily resolved, with our strong connections to senior management, it got pushed through the correct channels at speed. Problem number 2 occurred the next time we called SD for a small problem. The SharePoint team hadn't passed over any documentation. This led into problem number 3. The SharePoint team had never written any documentation, despite selling this custom instance onto a number of customers. With the SharePoint team having limited resources, a very technical man in our team took it upon himself to document how the system was set up. All of the settings, all of the bits and pieces we saw, common errors and their fixes, that we had come across over the years, etc. And, for the remainder of the 18 months he worked there, it was enough. I really wish I hadn't accepted the small raise to take on a number of his responsibilities, however. Until one miserable raining Monday morning in November, in the UK, most Monday mornings are miserable and rainy, we came into work, and tried to hit the magic button that built us a site. And it failed. We tested it with different users, at different sites, in different browsers. Nothing, no dice. So we called the service desk, who called the SharePoint team, who all sat very puzzled. The only piece of the puzzle the very technical man hadn't managed to solve was the site builder module, which sat in Azure. The password had been lost to time, and the person who had originally set up the subscription to Azure had left many moons prior. As had the backup contact. And the backup contact. I vividly recall his notes on this matter. They read nothing to be done about this, issue is with SharePoint team to resolve. They said we should hope it never breaks. And here I was, responsible in the eyes of my boss, my team and the whole sales team for finding out what was wrong. I spent an hour trying to get the SharePoint team to pick up the phone, while getting my team to download and back up any live projects on the platform in case the whole thing fell over. Eventually, I gave up on trying to call the SharePoint team directly, and hit up the staff directory to find, vaguely, sensible people who worked in the same office as them. I called up an internal account manager who owed me a favor, and convinced him to wander the building with his mobile phone, and to put the thing in the hand of anyone from the SharePoint team. Thankfully, that only took him 15 minutes. The head of SharePoint he found sounded quite stressed, given we were his largest internal client, and well known for being influential. I can understand why, but was professional as we tried to narrow down the problem. All the connections and bits we could see were functioning. There was something almost blocking the traffic to the Azure site builder. We checked with internal IT, no new firewalls, nothing new on the network. We decided that we absolutely had to see what was inside Azure, and we would have to work out what the password was. Internal IT brought back up the email of the former staff member who had set up this portion of Azure in the first place, and routed any incoming mail to the head of SharePoint, while he tried to reset the password. The reset came through, we were still on the phone and crowed in victory. He reset the password, to be met with a large warning that the bill for Azure hadn't been paid. Curious and curiouser, I agreed to speak with the finance department to work out why our payment had failed, only to find that we had never paid anything of that relatively small, several £100 value to Azure, and certainly not for the 6 years our instance of SharePoint had been working. I'm unclear on the exact thoughts going through the head of SharePoint's head as the penny dropped while he paged through paid invoices on what he could see of Azure, but I do know it resulted in a lot of swearing, and a shout across the office. A mumbled conversation I couldn't hear, and finally back to the phone to speak to me. We need to get this paid for, today, using the company card. Well, that was something I could do. We had bribery chocolates stored in a cupboard, and a quick run upstairs to the CEO's pa got the invoice paid within 20 minutes, and SharePoint site builder running another 20 minutes after that. It was another few hours before I managed to unearth the reason the bill had gone unpaid, and how it had previously been paid. When it had originally been set up, for some odd quirk, the account wasn't linked to the company accounts at all. It was listed to the person who had left. And he'd paid it on his own card, and put the figure back on expenses, every month until he left, and he handed over the invoices to his replacement, who paid it on his own card and expensed it every month until he left. And then, it had been passed over to another SharePoint consultant who was paid a little bit less money. If this was because she was the only woman on the team, I don't know, but I have my suspicions. And so, close to Christmas, her credit card bounced and she couldn't make the payment. Over time, the information of what this payment was for had been lost to the winds, and so she resolved to pay it at the end of the week, when she got paid, and hopefully nothing would break in that time. There was quite some upset when it made the rounds of senior management. 3 successive heads of SharePoint had collectively signed off over £10,000 in expenses for this site builder, and had never questioned it. Expenses rules were tightened, and time passed, and the SharePoint team, always a low revenue earning team, was eventually phased out entirely. This year, I started a new job at a new company, but I still stay in touch with a few people at the big IT company. A week after I left, SharePoint went down again, but this time entirely. They couldn't work out why it was broken, and now nobody in the business had the skills to fix it. I'm glad I missed that headache. I hear they've now switched to Teams. Yeah, sure, I'll wipe everything, hey all. Time for another story. This is a recent one and I have retold it to a lot of people. So our company hosts a lot from other companies and provide hardware/software/RDP/Citrix/Office support, and people mainly mail in their issues and orders to our ticket system. I was bored and had a look over our order queue and noticed one that seemed easy. My Citrix is really slow. Sure, I figured I'll have a look. Sonny went into the profile on the host and clicked around checking folder sizes and whatnot. 600 megabytes space is what the customer has in the first 4 folders. He has taken up space of around 2 gigs. I hook up my headset and call him up. Hi, this is Mirantis from $TechCo. I have had a look and I noticed you have a lot of things stored in your documents pictures folder as well as these folders. $Client, okay. Fix it. $Me, pardon. $Client, fix it. Remove what I don't need and fix it. Click. I put my headset back down and ponder before grinning like a madman. Most of the time we don't do this since it'll take time and we won't be able to help out on other things, and well, you know what some people have on what they think is a private storage buy. I had a plan to be an ass. So I take a few moments, prep a folder on the shared network drive and move everything there as a backup. No real danger to fill anything up there. And sit back sipping coffee dough a while before hitting the delete button. As soon as I did, I threw out a message on Teams to my team. If $client from $Corp calls, transfer him to me. It takes a short while and I get to work on a mother ticket, closing down a few accounts before I get the number of someone flashing a call back to me. Me, welcome to $It Company. This is Mirantis. How may we help? Client, where is my documents? I had a bill for Larger Corp. Me, well sir, it's on the shared network drive and only with you able to access it. I removed it from your Citrix session so you wouldn't have issues with long login times. Client, why can't you just remove the things I don't need? Me, because if I did, sir, I would have to look at every file in all your folders and make a judgment myself. I know some folders are okay for you at the vacation photos 2008 is one I'd remove since it's not work related and I'm sure you have a better chance to see what you need and not $client is silent for a short while thank you hangs up. I close the ticket and go about my day. Now we have a ticket grading system 1 to 10 on satisfaction rate from clients with the ability to comment. I get a notification of him putting 110/10 comment. He helped me get a lot of old family pictures I had forgotten about back. Feels good to be an ass at times. TLDR. Moved a client's profile to a file server and saved photos of a vacation by mistake.